Hey everybody, welcome back to Aces53 with my co-host Ed Parcaut, and I'm Brian Galke. How you doing, Ed?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Your voice is getting better and better by the day.
Well, I'm trying, but
Can't say so much for this, but this sounds better.
yeah, okay. You know what? That's why I have a face for radio.
Exactly.
The
All
most,
right.
but hold on, before we get into anything,
Yeah.
the most important thing, I'm in California. We've been more rain. It feels like I'm in Oregon or Washington State. We've had so much rain. There's so much junk in the air. Everybody's got allergies and everything else. And of course, everybody thinks it's COVID. So next thing you know, we're going to probably have a mask mandate back here in California.
Well, and you're underselling it. I mean, it wasn't just light drizzle, it was sideways rain. I landed out there last Tuesday to go to Secret Knock, and literally I saw in the exit row in the window. I'm a window guy. And it was like cloud, 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 runway. There was, I mean, it was horrible. And then walking from the hotel to the venue, it was sideways rain. So you're like constantly having to adjust your umbrella to go the right direction. It's crazy.
First of all, you sit by the window and you use an umbrella. I think we need to move on to the show. And you're from Texas?
Yes.
I think you're not from Texas.
Hey, I need to be able to lean my head on the plane so I can sleep. So
okay, yes. All right, whatever you want to do.
But
I want to bring in our guest today. Can you bring in our guest? Can you bring in our guest? He's more important than us, so let's bring him in.
That's true. All right, so this week we're going to be bringing in Robin Alex. So Robin is one of the co-founders of Go High Level. And so on Tuesday's podcast, we talked quite a bit about what is a CRM, what is the history behind CRMs, you know, how it used to be people had a Rolodex or 3x5 cards. That's how they tracked information. And then in the early 80s, that was the first time that a CRM was actually built out there. It actually wasn't called a CRM at the time.
Alex, do you know what the first one was?
I couldn't tell you.
Act.
I'm sure it was Act, and then you got spreadsheets before that.
Exactly.
So,
well, we were talking earlier this week, and I was telling Brian a lot of the new LOs we bring on, everybody's like, get them a CRM, get them on. I'm like, they got to get clients first. They can do a Google sheet or they can use Excel spreadsheet for a while. They don't need to worry about all that other stuff and get lost in the weeds to where they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. But I don't want to get right into your stuff, but your software is amazing to where you can, it's not just a CRM, it's the marketing part and how to bring them in and then through the process and keep them in the CRM to go forward. That's what I like about your software.
Thank you. You described it very well.
Well, like I told you when we talked last week, it's like I came across this through another company. I'm like, wow, they spent a lot of money to make this. No, you spent a lot of money to create this. And it's amazing what you can do with it. And then we're seeing it everywhere now. And that could just be we're being pixelated, but it just seems like it's everywhere where everybody's trying to push the product on us in everything they do because it's a great product.
Yeah, and in many ways, we're trying to develop the product where it's being more like an operating system. Everyone has a Mac, everyone has a Windows PC, but it's really how you use it, which is what makes it special. And we are targeting the implementers in many ways. The people that do this day in, day out is typically like a marketing agency or a freelancer, marketing technologist, something like that. And they know how to take the system and really configure it for any business that's out there. And I think because we go in that lens and that angle, that's why you're starting to see our name really pop up everywhere, because it's not, you can go out and get any of the other great platforms, the Salesforce, the HubSpots, Keep, they're all great, but the hardest part is getting it set up for your business. And so since we're targeting the people that know how to implement, it makes it easier for the end business to actually utilize it and actually win every day.
Well, and so often, oh, go ahead, Ed.
I was just going to agree with that. But because I mean, a lot of times people get this and they'll never use something because it takes so much time to implement and change it. And they don't have somebody in the company to do it, or they can't afford it. Cause you really focus on smaller businesses with what this goes to, and then they grow and they get bigger. But where a lot of companies start with, we want the biggest company and we want to do this for them. And I like what you guys do.
Yeah, we try to remove the friction points, mostly from a cost perspective and speed to implementation, not only for the implementers who are our customers, but for their customers. We're trying to teach that as well. If you make it easy for, the loan officer or the dentist or whatever, they're going to get that adoption. And that's actually what helps people to become that, from small to large business there.
I totally agree. Brian, what do you have to say? You're so quiet today.
Well, because we started off with the fact of where you guys are, the thing about it is it's not an overnight success. When speaking with you at the event in Miami and then seeing you again here speak in Dallas, you went through where you guys started at, a handful of people, and then now you're up to 35,000 customers that help over 1 million businesses. You're up to almost 400 employees now.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely it's crazy. Yeah, we started, so I started out as a marketing agency, had that from 2014, and over time we merged both companies together. But in 2017, I actually met my other two co-founders who were trying to build a software. And my agency, we dealt with the same problems of what every agency deals with. You're doing all this hard work, you're driving leads, you're trying to help the business, your customer grow, but they end up canceling, me as a marketing agency. And we had a team of 25 people, and it was definitely an ego hit. It's like, what do we do wrong? And it wasn't anything other than they just can't afford it. It's hard to keep that going. But when they cancel, you have to go from a revenue perspective down from a couple $100s or thousands of dollars down to zero. And you did all that hard work to help them implement a software, only for them to continue paying for that software and you get nothing on the back end. Mm-hmm. And because of that, we were looking for better ways. And so when I met my other two co-founders, they were actually building a different software, and they happened to reach out to a co-customer at the time. And that co-customer was like, I don't know what these guys are asking for. They're asking for logins and passwords. I don't have any of that crap. Can you help them? So I jumped on a call with them, got them set up so that they're off to races. And then I was like, hey, while I got you here, what do you guys think about this idea? What, is there any legs to it? What would it cost to take? Just, you guys do this day in, day out. And, it's interesting with software. You assume that the person that you're talking to represents a big company. Mm-hmm. When in reality, it was just, two guys who were just starting up, and, they had less than 10 customers, and they were, losing customers as quick as they brought them on. And they came back and said, give us a couple of days. We'll look at it and get back to you. And I just kind of they were just brushing me off, right? Because I'm a nobody, and you just assume that it's a big company, they're doing really well. They wouldn't be shipping a product if it wasn't doing well. But they actually called me back a couple of days later and said, hey, we think we got it. We got a proof of concept. And I basically said, perfect. Let's try for a couple of my customers as a test base. And then from there, it was, can we get that up to all of our customers? And I think we, bought licenses for like 200 customers at a time. And then I was like, hey guys, I got an idea. I know other agencies that would really love this. Can I ask them if they want it? And I pitched it to about 20 of them, 13, 14 of them said, let's do it. And one of them happened to be a business coach in the marketing agency space. And he invited us out to speak. And me and one of the partners flew out there, and we presented literally on the plane. I'm creating landing pages and, figuring out how to sell it. So we didn't have anything like that. Mm-hmm. And it was a room of 40, I think 39 purchased immediately. And even they were asking for like, hey, can you guys do this? And I'm like, yep, let me build a landing page to be able to do that. And then the 40th, I think, got FOMO and reached out to us a week later and said, all right, I'm ready to do it. And, from there, we've just been word of mouth and just continued growing since then.
We talked
Hold on. What year was that?
That was, we did that event in January of 2018.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, a few things. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah. I mean, it's wild to think. It feels like it was yesterday.
It was yesterday.
Yeah. And then, you throw COVID in there, and that's like the year that no one talks about, so it feels like it was just right on the corner, but we're coming up on our 5-year anniversary now.
Wow.
So you brought up a few things at the speakeasy that I wasn't aware of. Number one, you were profitable a few months in, which is very unique for a lot of businesses. But more importantly is you took every dollar that you guys made and didn't take distribution for a while. Instead, you knew you needed staff to grow. And there's a lot of people that when they start seeing success, they think, okay, well, I deserve this. I want this. Instead, you were looking so much farther into the future of, you'd said that the whole goal is to integrate as many separate services into one as possible. And you knew you needed the team to do that. And so that's where you dedicate all your funds for the first few years. And a quote that you gave was, I think in your development team, you have less than a 0.04 changeover in staff, right?
Yeah.
Since you guys have been around, which is so impressive. And I mean, when you get into technology companies, people job hop all the time because you can get something incremental, but it seems like you guys are creating people who have bought into the mission more so than the money. And that's really impressive with where you guys are, because like we were talking about, Ed and I were talking about on the Tuesday show, you guys appear to be an overnight success, but you're not, right? And what I mean by that is everywhere you turn, people are either talking about Chat GPT or Go High Level. And a year ago, I had no idea who you guys were. You know, Steve came to speak at your event. I live here in Dallas. You guys had it at the Statler Hotel. And I swear you guys are paying people to show up in my life and just mention your name, because you guys are everywhere. Yeah. And it's not advertisements. It's literally people who somehow heard about you guys, reached out to you, started using it, and realized how powerful of a platform it is, and literally can't go anywhere without hearing y'all's name or seeing your logo somewhere.
Yeah, y'all. Get that little Texas thing in there, Brian.
Get the Texas going on.
Exactly.
You know, there's nothing more powerful than the endorsement. And sure, you can get the large names to endorse it. And those are powerful, but what's even more powerful is when, you know, Ed, you're telling two people yourself, like that is a stronger attributable sale in many cases. And that's what we've leaned on. And that's how we built the team. You know, in respects to not taking distributions for a long time. I mean, luckily we have great spouses who are able to hold down the fort while we kind of made that decision there, but it was intentional. You know, we definitely believe in a flywheel effect. And, you know, the more incredible talent that we could bring on, the more development and things like that, at a certain point, it would make sense. And that's how we held true. I mean, we definitely believe that we didn't need to go rush out to go find a Lambo to help drive more sales. It was development, which drives more sales. Stronger people up front is what drives more sales. And so we don't spend a lot in marketing. We don't spend a lot in sales. And we basically taken those dollars, and you know, we're a product-led company, and that's what we spend every single one of our dollars on.
One of the other things you brought up is that you found transparency was the key really to your business's success. Really impressive. You talked about asking for referrals, asking for customers. What do they need? Don't develop in a vacuum, right? Too many companies think they have this perfect product. Oh, we built it in our, you know, test environment, not used by real life users. Y'all seem to have the opposite approach, which was, I know I said y'all again, Ed.
Robin's laughing as much as I am.
I enjoy it.
Yeah.
This is my world. I'm in Dallas.
Yeah,
so
I say y'all.
We say y'all.
Yeah, but I don't hear you saying it at all.
So. Give them time.
Yeah.
I used to say, well, I'll tell that in another story. But anyway, it's the fact of the transparency. You brought up the fact of you ask people, what do they need? And there was somebody who was at the speakeasy who years ago came to you and said, hey, we need this. And you turned around and developed it for them. And you just keep taking that input for figuring out how can we improve our platform overall. And some companies do that. But what really impressed me was when you get a bad or negative review, the attempts that you try to get in touch with the people. And that was, you try to call them. If you don't get them the first time, you'll call back again. If you don't get them the second time, you'll leave them a voicemail, and then you'll try and reach out to them from other means. So many people run from negativity or that bad review and hide it and everything. But it seemed like y'all had the opposite approach of let's embrace it and figure out what we can do with it.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely ingrained in our DNA, because we don't have to pontificate or predict where the world is going. Someone who has that negative review is telling us where we went wrong and what we failed on. And without that, I mean, as painful as it is, I mean, I don't want you to feel like I enjoy it and thrive for it. As painful as it is, it allows us to make changes very quickly and be agile and move. And even on the development side, you know, Ed, you were talking about Chat GPT. That the only reason we're getting into that is because our customers are asking for it. And, you know, we could have easily tried to build out AI last year, 2 years ago, and things like that. But I don't know if it would have hit the note back then, right? People would be like, what is this? I don't get it. Why would I need it? Oh, it's kind of a cool toy. But now, because everyone is asking for us, they're actually feeding us information on how it could be valuable to them, not only from a monetization perspective, but from a productivity perspective. And so instead of it being a thing and us trying to predict on it, and then we're constantly having to move our development, like, well, no one's using it this way, let's change it this way. You end up wasting so many cycles and so many dollars and time in trying to figure it out. And instead, we just figured out how to develop very quickly and really just align to what people are saying, what their challenges are, and we'll back into it and build from there.
Yeah, because I mean, I use it for everything. And when it was down last week, I didn't know what to do because I mean, I use this for so much stuff. I'm not joking. It's rewording everything because that's not. Yes, I have a master's degree, but it's not in English, and I sucked in English. I cheated my way through English, and you can tell that by the certain the stuff I do and how I write. But you can go in there and have it change things for you and fix so many things that when you are creating stuff, one of the biggest issues is landing pages or whatever, coming up with that text that you need in that place and the right text and the right hooks and the right this. And now you have some software that's so much, I don't want to say it's smarter, but it does know key ways to do it that works so much better for you. So if you can include that in your stuff, like you said, because I saw that last week on I think it was a YouTube talking about it. You guys were dropping it, what you were doing. And I think that's going to make a huge difference.
Yeah. And like I said, it comes down to that use case, but those use cases come from our customers who are extremely creative. They've taken something, that doesn't really have a true definition. ChatGPT, you mentioned it was down last week. Everyone is using it for 50 million different ways. You have the high schooler, the college kid who's using it for college essays. You're using it for notes and structure there. That use case, when people feel like, oh, if we can use this for high level in a certain product that we have, people will feed us that information, and now we go to work. And that's really the model there. So we're excited about AI and where it's going and how it's functioning. It's just, it takes time to build it and make sure that it hits the note, but we're moving down that path as fast as possible.
So you bring up a great point talking about ChatGPT AI that's out there. One of the big questions that you got asked at the Speakeasy was, what's your advice for people on how to avoid ending up in spam?
I think it's making sure that it feels like a human. At the end of the day, I mean, that tonality does translate in words. As much as it's hard for me to pick up on it, I'm a believer in any email, any text, just read it in a monotone voice, take it as it is. Like, because you don't know, someone could be saying the same statement super happy and smiley while someone is saying it angrily. And so I just respond right in the middle because I don't know and I don't have time to think on it. But what creates spam is when people try to make it a transactional message. When someone tries to give you a long-winded context of why they're trying to reach out to you, what their value statement is, and then asking for an appointment, versus if you just kind of treat them as a human and just say, hey, just reaching out, you got a few minutes to talk later this week or early next week, I think your conversion rates will be higher, and it's going to prevent more people from hitting the spam button because it most likely is spam. And when more people do that, your future emails become in spam. So really it comes down to just being that humanistic approach. Do you email your mom that way? If you do, I don't know how many times she's actually going to respond, but my guess is you don't email your mom that way.
All right. So the other thing,
hold on, back to the email part, because sorry, my battery died in my camera because I've been too many videos today already. But the big issue going forward with emails myself, I can create I'm a vet, so I'm very direct, and it really irritates a lot of people with the directness I am. But I can take that same email, and I think probably we're talking about dropping in ChatGPT and make it so much nicer, so I sound so much better.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And that's the fun thing with AI. It can help you build that happy medium. I think you're playing on both extremes. You're the direct, straight to the point guy, and I resonate with that. I love people who are like that. But not everyone resonates with it, and not everyone can comprehend what you're talking about, or they need the full story. Here at High Level internally, we talk about you're either the poet or you're the novelist. And, a lot of the executive team resides on the poet side of things. And so it's always figuring out what that right balance is. And this is where the TLDR comes from. You see it on Reddit or whatever. But you can plug that into ChatGPT and create a model around it, and it can help build that for you because you're creating a muscle that you don't have today, Ed. Right? So ChatGPT can flex it for you and get you the output that you're looking for.
Well, and not only that, so I do Helping the Brave, which is for veterans once they take uniform off podcast. And I need to create little descriptions for all the different, as we upload the videos and stuff, because I like to be part of that. Well, I can create a whole form in ChatGPT, and they'll say, okay, drop this new information in there and create a thing. And it's done in a couple seconds where it would normally take me 20 minutes to do it. And that's the big difference. The time saver that it allows you to do is huge.
Oh, 100%. Mostly when it's not necessarily directly client-facing content that could be consumed as plagiarism or things like that. just everyday productivity sort of things, creating notes and creating emails and things like that. I think ChatGPT is a great tool when done correctly.
I had somebody say, "What? It's not your words." So,
Well, I think the sentiment is more important, right?
right.
Right.
I was like, "So what?" And they're like, and they were so adamant about it. And this is an older person. It's like, but you don't understand. Maybe it's better that it's not my words.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, look, human conversation, it's built on stories and parables and quotes and things like that. And it's like, I'm sure everyone has seen in The Office, or at least the meme, where it's the Wayne Gretzky quote, and underneath it says Michael Scott.
Yeah.
He's just quoting about. So I think it's about the sentiment and really what you're trying to convey is more important than the words itself.
And
Well, it's
that's
always
where I'm sorry,
yeah.
one last thing. That's
Yeah.
where a lot of people say, all the stuff we learned in sales and in books are just regurgitated somebody else in the past, which is true
Yep.
to a certain point. And that's all we're doing, I think, with Chat GPT. And I know there was an issue. I don't know if you brought it up while I was gone fixing my camera, but how people think that AI is going to stop it from being pushed up because Google's going to say that was written by AI. Have you guys figured a way to bypass that?
We're using the tools off of what OpenAI has delivered. I think we'll get into that. And there's a lot of outside tools that does that plagiarism test and things of that nature. I would say that in many cases, most people don't care to that nth degree.
Right.
I think people first look at it as, I'm starting a blog. Brian has his new blog out. What is the hardest first step that he has? Creating content for the blog.
Yep.
Right? Did we check that box? That is a great start.
Right.
Now, I think after he creates a couple of pieces of content, then the next step is like, I'm not ranking enough in Google. I think at that point, we'll be able to, we'll have a tool developed for that. Or, Brian will be able to take in that blog post and recraft it. It gets him 80% going. He does the last 20, and that's enough to help with the rankings and things like that. But really, we look at it as the 80-20 rule. What can we help get that first step? And it's that just creating the content.
And that's what I was going to say. It's easier to edit after something else is created. Everybody's had that writer's block where you don't know where to even get started. But if you can use AI to get you started, then you can personalize it, which is what you suggested a minute ago, right? If you're going to be sending out something, you can take something that AI creates for you and then put your own spin or your own language. And I can put y'all in it,
Yeah. And he'll correct it if he has to.
Exactly.
Well, I was just amazed because I showed agent how to use it to make a description for a property when they're going to sell it, right? And what they created, and I'm like, watch what it can do for you. And then I said, then if you just ask it to do it, and then you have to change it because the square footage isn't right in certain things. But when I told it to talk in different styles and different voices and different that was the difference maker right there.
Yep. I mean, that becomes the X factor. And like Brian is saying, that writer's block, being able to overcome it, you have the right tool to be able to pull it off.
Well, I just think it levels the field for a lot of people.
Yeah.
100%. Well, we had Manoj on.
But this isn't about Chat PTT today. This is about Robin.
CRM. And that's what I was going to go back to. We talked about,
but it's important to know that's going in there. There is another software right now you can drop your stuff into that will reword it to make it more human after you create it on AI. So I'm sure there'll be something like that. But if you're making a landing page you need information for and it's already inside there like it's going to be eventually, that's a huge change. You can get the stuff done in a few hours, which normally might take you a day. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Going back to prospecting and CRMs, one of the things that really I liked when you spoke at Speakeasy was you said the goal was always customer success. And by making about the customers, referrals came naturally. And even if it didn't come out that way, you guys weren't afraid to ask for referrals when you were small. So I wrote down, hey, now that we've shown you some success, do you know 3 people you can introduce us to? Such a simple ask. When you say, hey, can you introduce me to 10, or do you know of any one person? People can't do it. But by asking for 3, it gave that just simple statement so much more power, because then people start thinking of more than one person who all would be a good fit. And you can't argue with your success based on that.
Yeah. I mean, what we've learned through that process is when you say the word 3, people will naturally come up with one maybe 2. Very rarely do we get 3. But all it takes is 1 for it to be effective. And so just asking that definitive number went a long way. And sure, along the way, there was tons of people that said, nope, don't know anybody, or I don't want to tell anyone the secret, or whatever. But it doesn't matter. If you can get 30%, 40% referring 1, 2, and every once in a while 3, it goes a long way. And then eventually, when you ask that question, someone who could be a power influencer, or they have a group that they support and want to get it out to more people at mass, they naturally pop up as well.
But that, I think a lot of people are afraid to ask for referrals.
Mm-hmm.
And you
I mean, it's no different than in sales. Yeah. People are scared to ask for the sale. Right? Well, and for us, that was our sale.
Right. That is, and sometimes people talk their way through a sale. It's just, are you ready to move forward? What do you want to do? But asking for referrals, do you know anybody else that we can help? I do that. Other people do that. And it works for us in our industry. But a lot of people don't do it when they should. And I'm glad that you guys were doing that. And Brian, are you getting any affiliate money for Keep Saying the Speakeasy?
Sure. No, that's just the last place I heard him. I want to remember where I took the notes from. You shush. I could
Steve
go
is
say
great.
BDC.
You need to work a partnership with
Robin
Steve.
speak at BDC in Miami. Shush.
It was just messing.
Yeah.
I didn't know if Steve was giving you extra money or something these days to keep promoting his speakeasy.
Hey, I think you're just jealous because you're growing a goatee to look like Steve, and
I'm wearing a black T-shirt.
So push some shade my way.
Yeah.
And I am bald, but that's beside the
yes.
He's got to get the cool glasses that Steve
That's
has.
right. Okay, so Robin, I have a good question for you.
There you go.
I do have them. I just I don't like the light in them. So
get the blue blockers. What do you think most people, when they get started in a CRM? So let's say somebody heard about
high level. Are we talking about high level?
We are talking about high level. So
okay, stop saying CRM then.
Well, because I was getting ready to go
into
it.
It's not a CRM. It's an all-inclusive marketing and
but
CRM.
When people don't know and they're first starting out, they hear, hey, I need a CRM. And then they hear about Go High Level and they come to you. What's probably the most common mistake people have when they're first starting?
Not putting in their contacts into the system. I mean, you'd be just kind of that same thing, right? Mm-hmm. I can give you any platform out there, but it's a blank canvas.
Right.
And there's 2 parts of that blank canvas. There's the contacts, which is what you manipulate to doing things. And then the other aspect, which is the automations, which is the manipulation of doing things, right? So you kind of have to have both. And this is where the implementation partners very well with the business. The business should be the one to source the contacts and the data that's coming in. And the implementer is the one that knows how to manipulate it. And each industry, that manipulation can be done in many different ways. In some industries, it's more about texting. Some is more about emailing. Some of it is doing birthday reminders or, just so many different ways and automations and plugging into other systems and things like that. But if you look at it from those 2 different angles, the one thing a business can do, even if you don't use a CRM today, it's amazing how many businesses do not track their customers. And what I mean by tracking is, do you just have their name and their email and maybe their phone number? If you can have those 3 things, the value of your business can be in that list, because you can do so much with remarketing and, just contacting everyone one by one. You've already done business with them. They already know, like, and trust you. So why not use that list to get them to come back again? And, a lot of business, mostly in the service industry or restaurants or whatever, that's just not in their MO. And so they lose out on future opportunities to be able to accelerate in marketing or automations or those sort of things.
And the other thing is to ask them why they used you. Why did they buy from you? Why did they use your store? Why did they come to you? That's a lot of people don't do that. And it's shocking because we have such follow-up, and I've been doing this for so long that I'm a phone person. I hate emailing. I hate texting. And I don't mean that wrong, but it's just, you're in at that point in time, wherever they are mentally. But if I'm talking to them, I can tell the tones and inflections in their voice and what's going on with them. And it's so important just to call them and say, why did you use me? Why did you come through? What can we do differently that can make the service so much better next time? A lot of times they say nothing, but you're going to get that one person who's going to tell you what you want, what you might not want to know. Yeah. I'm going away again.
What's interesting, in what you're talking about is there's a huge shift in the marketplace as a whole. There's a lot of legacy businesses, maybe generational businesses. Baby boomers are retiring, and they're trying to figure out what to do with their existing business. And their kids don't really want to take over mom and dad's business anymore because their dad or mom did extremely well to get them to university, and now they're in a professional career. They don't want to take over the plumbing business or whatever, hometown business, the restaurant. And so they want to sell it. They want to end their career and retire. However, because they haven't been contacting their customers or tracking it or even logging, their names and stuff, someone who wants to take over that business feels like they're starting at zero. And I think that's a huge risk for businesses if they're not doing that today, because you can't ask those questions. You can't improve. So someone trying to buy that business, you're effectively starting over from scratch. And that's a scary uphill battle that they got to deal with. So I can't recommend it enough. If you're not doing it, you don't need the CRM. Just put it on Excel.
Gotta have
Name,
something.
email, phone number. Start with those three. And there you can start leveling up and doing more things with it.
That's one of the other speakers that was at a different event was talking about buying out businesses. And if a business has paper receipts and that's how they track their customers and everything, they said that is a major blow to the sale price of a business, because people don't trust what's not in electronic format one way or the other. We talked earlier this week, Ed and I were talking about attending your event last year over at the Statler Hotel. And one of the unique things about it is most people, when they put on an event, they hire an event coordinating company, a bunch of outsiders who come in and kind of manage it. And then the companies that are hosting it kind of sit back and have a high level overview of it. But y'all want a different approach. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. We actually brought in our whole team. I mean, down to our financial analysts, down to, someone on the front lines on the support team, some of our developers, things like that. We had everyone take on new responsibilities and roles that they wouldn't do in their everyday life, which is running the swag store on site or just welcoming people into the event. They were running security. We basically had everybody on the high level team be a part of the event. And we thought that was invaluable from two different reasons. One is we didn't have a contact to contact another event company. We didn't know that's a thing, but really it was, it just made it easy for us. When you have a team on our side that knows our customers, know our culture, know what we're about, it translates so easily in getting them to do what they need to do, right? They know what they're selling at the swag store. They know how to welcome and greet people because customers know these individuals. So doesn't that make it extremely easy? And you get to translate that across the board. It just makes that overall experience for every attendee to feel like it makes sense for them and it's home, because anywhere that you look, anyone that's wearing a high level short shirt or not, you kind of know each other. And it just makes you feel comfortable and in the moment a lot quicker than it feeling like a transactional business environment.
And for the people who weren't there, it wasn't just okay, we're going to open the doors, let you come in, listen to speakers, come out. You guys threw some crazy fun, like after party events, dancing robots that lit up. The DJ was pretty amazing. People could come in and play games. There was VR to fly a jet. There was all kinds of table games for people to interact at. So there was a little bit of something for everybody. There were people who in their booths outside actually had their podcast set up. So if in between a session, somebody wanted to go record a podcast with somebody, they could do that. I mean, there was a lot going on, and most of it was literally you took over the entire Statler Hotel with your logos everywhere, on every elevator, on every floor panel, you name it. It was a pretty impressive feat. And to coordinate that, it was awesome.
So
yeah, I mean, that was by design. I mean, we wanted to take over. We wanted to make it something special, something different. I think, in the industry itself, internet marketing or just, going to business conferences, I've been to quite a few of them. I've seen how they function, and it feels very either transactional or feels almost too business oriented. And that's not who we are, and nor the culture that we want to represent. Not that there's nothing wrong with it, but, we got to do it our style. And, we don't wear the blazers. We don't wear, we don't want a suit and tie event with the nice posh dinners and stuff. That's not who we are. And we want that to be translated to our customers, and it not only makes them feel comfortable in their own skin, but they know who they're working with as well.
It was like I said, having been through a few, and it was just the way you had everything set up was fantastic. Wouldn't have known it was done all in house just because of how well it all flowed. And even when like people were waiting to go into where the late night party was, the neon party, right? With the glowing lights and the bracelets and everything else. The staff wearing the shirts were all interacting with everybody. They weren't just standing there like security. To your point, because they knew who their audience was, it was more like having a good conversation with somebody while you're waiting to go into the event versus them standing there like security, just staring at people and then other people staring at their watch. So
yeah, we actually had roles of, you're a communicator. Your job is to make sure the crowd is feeling comfortable. Just go out there and have conversation. It's a very easy role, but you couldn't pull that off with just a random events company.
Right.
It's very hard for that to translate. So it's just go out, make sure people feel comfortable, be a part of that flow. And it just makes you just reduce that stress and anxiety of everyone that's out there.
Not being in your
I actually have some now. I'm sorry, my camera keeps dying on me. Yeah. I usually don't use the, I had it down for so long and then I used it, and anyway, move on. All right. So that event was your first big event, but you do normally do little masterminds all the time, or is it just 1 or 2 a year of masterminds?
Yeah. So we did one last year. That was our first event. It was actually last year coming out of COVID. We're like, we need to do a big event for a summit, but let's do a small one just to kind of test our waters, make sure that we kind of know what it's like to work with a hotel and things like that. We had hired new team members who were going to run it. So we did one mastermind last year. And then we went straight into our summit. This year, we actually completed our first mastermind. We're doing another one in June, and then we're doing summit. So we're slowly, gradually adding more as we're starting to understand the ins and outs. There's a lot that goes into running an event. You're negotiating with vendors. You're trying to make sure attendees get there. You got to sell tickets. You got to sell the experience and planning and teams and stuff like that. But we're slowly getting there, and we're excited about this year. This is our 5-year anniversary. So we're trying to make sure that we're still doing it at the Statler. But we're going to have even more attendees, and we got to top ourselves. So we got a lot of things up our sleeves this year.
How's the sales on the mastermind? Is there still tickets? Is it sold out?
I believe there's a handful more tickets. We're closing the doors, I believe, the end of this week.
They better hurry up, Brian. Better get it.
Yeah.
Yep. It like I said, the way you guys broke things out, I sat in on the affiliate, what do you call it, panel.
Yeah.
So many different people. Can you talk about the guy who was selling shoes, making like $9 an hour? There was one story of a kid who.
Yeah, Dominic.
Yes.
I believe that was him. Yeah. He's a 20-year-old, 21-year-old, individual, and he's doing extremely well, really getting people set up on high level, teaching them how to use it, how to become that implementer and really support small businesses. And what he did was just taking advantage of the trends that people are at today, mostly for his demographic. Everyone's on TikTok, and he's figured out how to really captivate the audience on there and really show them a path to success. And he did that in a very short amount of time, because when you hit the right note, it's easy to get the flywheel effect with an engaged customer audience. And so he was able to capitalize on it, and he's brought in quite a bit, and he's helped a lot of different agencies along the way. But what the cool thing is, that's just one of many stories. And the panel was really cool because you got to see it from many different perspectives. I think everyone has a different background and a different experience in how they help their communities. But yeah, with Dominic, it was just extremely special because he got to leverage, the buzzworthy, a year ago, the platform. Now TikTok is definitely buzzworthy for other reasons. But it is where the younger demographic is at.
Yeah, Brian dances on there all the time.
Yeah, I follow him.
So ironically, Ed and I had lunch with Douglas James, at TNC?
I think that was dinner, but anyway.
Yeah, we had dinner.
It just felt like lunch because the days are so long.
We never left.
Yeah.
He explained what he did. Obviously, he's a former vet, or he's a vet. Ed's a vet. So they talked at lunch, had no lunch, dinner, whatever it was. Didn't really know what he did. And then here we see him at your summit up on the affiliates. And he was talking about, again, how high level helped him help veterans when they get out, when they don't know what to do. And it's just really impressive. Like we said, we started this off with talking about a CRM, but how it's so much more than that. Is that what you think has really drove the small business consumer your way, because of the fact of it's very overwhelming to have a small business because you think, okay, well, I need this and I need this and I need this and I need this. Was that by integrating all those different things? Is that how you think keeps drawing more and more of the small business your way?
Definitely.
Can I answer that? Because I'm a small business.
Yeah.
There's so much that you can do through this that you would need extra people to do if you didn't have that software. That's the key to it. Is it makes it so much easier to track things, do certain things. You don't have to have one person who just does this. Because right now I have 5 different softwares that your software takes over all of them for what I do. And that's the huge thing.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things that I typically see with small businesses as they're trying to figure out how to create their digital version of their business, you're using one software to do one thing, but then you need to use that data to put it in another software to do something else. And then you got to go back to the original software to put it in another piece of software to doing something else, which has got to talk to it just gets very convoluted. And to Ed's point, well, now you got to either hire somebody or you got to figure it out yourself. And then each one of those products also have a different cost structure. So keeping up with that, your budget can easily get out of whack. And so all that we said is there's got to be an easier way to take all these tools that what's interesting is 99% of businesses use fundamentally the same types of tools in their toolbox. It could be different brands of software, but the same functions is generally the same. So can we put that all in one place and allow the smart people to tie it all up so that they can go to their small business customer and now it's just press play and go.
Awesome.
What's your growth factor going forward, do you think? You know what I mean? Where are you at now? How much more can you go? Is it unlimited or is there,
Yeah, I mean, so they call it like what's our total market size. And I think it's definitely, infinite in many ways. It's hard to really define it because while we do talk to marketing agencies, we really are talking about more of the agency in the context that it's one person who is able to help many different small businesses. And the word of small business has fundamentally changed over time. You're talking about digital creators. You're talking about online people, who are selling a course or selling a business. So there's that market. You have the local, guy in a truck or the woman in a truck who's selling plumbing services to electricians, to the local business. You got the furniture store, you got the dentist and all that. And we're also seeing, this fundamental shift. Ed, we were talking about while you dropped off, we were talking about the baby boomers. They're trying to sell their businesses and they're not digital first. So someone who's taken over their business is going to bring them online. And we're also seeing a lot of people who are really on the entrepreneurial drive for 2 different reasons. One is they have a full-time job, full-time career, and maybe they want to supplement their income. And so they're looking to start something themselves. And then also there's the other side of it where let's use the plumber example. You've been working for a large plumbing organization and you're ready to now do it yourself. And so we're seeing a lot of startups really pop up only because the entrepreneurial culture has definitely exponentially grown through COVID. It's becoming more socially acceptable and more culturally acceptable. It used to be like the crazy people are the ones starting their business because they're you don't have certainty, you have unpredictability, things of that nature. But I think now people are more comfortable with it and it's just getting a lot easier to spin up a business and start really making money there.
Wait for Brian to finish that. Takes him a little while to figure that out. No, what I see is people think working for somebody is more not as risky as if you start. So if you go out and start a company, they're like, that's a risky thing doing this and that. I think it's more risky working for somebody because you do not know if you're going to have that job tomorrow. You don't know anything. When you start your own business, you do know, and you do make mistakes. And that's why I do this other podcast called Inner Edison, which is your greatest accomplishments come from your greatest defeats. And that's so important to let people know that you're going to come across things and fail. And that's okay as long as you learn from them. But one of the things that's so important about your software, and we won't get, is now you add, you have memberships available to it also, right? We didn't get into that yet, right? Not when I dropped off.
No, we didn't.
All right. So I want to talk about that, but I also want to talk about, so Brian and I had this conversation and he was like, I was on stage and I had this moment and I didn't take advantage of it. And I could have done this. he could have had a landing page, a certain thing set up to where all these people could have went directly into his CRM, went directly into your high level in seconds that he could have done that he didn't do. And I'm not knocking him, but this is good for so many people other than just small businesses, coaches, people on stage, how you're doing it. It's so easy to get this set up some other way to get that stuff in there.
Yeah. I mean, I think it starts with just general business marketing. I mean, that's usually the first step, but then because the technology, it's just tools, right? You can use the screwdriver to doing many different things, but then from there, you can use it to automate just normal business opportunities and just everyday business productivity, which has nothing to do with sales and marketing. But it starts with getting some small win, and then from there you just keep stacking up to doing other cool things along the way.
Well, and it used to be that the only way to grow a business was to have physical employees because nothing could be automated. And as we're starting to see the shift to people using virtual assistants and automation, people can get there faster and then grow the staff when they need to, right? And that's what it sounds like is one of the main benefits here is it's something that can be done within one program versus having to go, what's my password to this one and what do I do and how do you integrate them? And like you said, the data set wasn't populating from one over to the other. And with it being a small business, a lot of times you just don't have the expertise. You go to larger companies, they have, an administrator who handles their CRM, or you have, those dedicated roles that smaller companies don't have. And one of the things that even Ed was talking about this on our previous episode is that he goes into the help and reads up on everything all the time. And it sounds like you guys have figured out that the sooner you can educate the people on all these different ways, the better. And you'd mentioned before the Go High Level community and Facebook group where people can just go in and ask for stuff all the time. And so instead of saying, well, you have to buy our book and use our user manual and figure it out, that interactivity you have is helping you improve your product and get customers there that much faster. Is that what you think has really led to a lot of the adoption so quickly?
Oh, for sure. I come back to the example of Windows or Microsoft. If you try to buy a user manual from them, you're going to get a full encyclopedia deck, of different things that you can do with it. I think it's more in the sense of what do you want to do with it, and then how do you build upon that? And in many cases, it's industry driven. Like Solar thinks about their customers and things a specific way versus dentists look at it as patients. Those are just kind of examples, but that's really where the Facebook group comes in. It's like, look, I know I'm buying, it's like you go to Home Depot and you can buy a toolkit of 200 tools, 200 wrenches, screwdrivers and all that, but you're probably only going to use 20% of it every day. And it's really dependent on what you do every day. And I think that's where the Facebook group comes in. It's like, I know that High Level has 20 different products and features and things of that nature. How do I use it for my business? And usually it comes down to like 2 or 3 that you start out with. And then over time you may do more. And if you don't, that's completely fine as well. You're not getting taxed on it along the way.
It allows people to learn from their peers as well, right? So you can go in and do a search for the exact problem you're having. And then because you have such a great affiliate program and people are so vested into it. So and this is my understanding, so help correct me. I can have my own version, right? I can then white label, help provide that same version over to other companies that are in the same line of business. And then you have people who are kind of almost like help you set it up and then hand it over to you. Is that a fair assessment of the different ways people can get started with High Level?
Yeah, definitely. You can start out for yourself. More small business may want to come in. Maybe they're, a digital citizen or something like that, where they're kind of an agency for their own business. And then we have the $297 one where a lot of marketing agencies love that one because they're already charging their customers quite a bit. And they want to build a value add to their customers or really show a way that they can attribute the success of all their hard work. And that's our mid-tier plan. And then we have our high tier plan where it gives you the ability to resell the product. So now you have 2 SKUs essentially. So if you're an agency, you have your professional services, and then you have the software fees, because without High Level, that's what you would have done anyways. And the nice thing is you own the software, you own the IP. And so that if they ever drop your professional services, you actually have the ability to still maintain a revenue source. And what's interesting as a small business, you are always working with third-party vendors. And when expenses exceed income, you're looking at ways to cut. And you're going to tell the person, the marketing agency or any company, right? We need to drop services for a little bit so I can play catch up. But don't worry, when we're ready, I'm going to come back to you. And what we found in kind of an internal study is when you go from, charging and then going to zero, the likelihood of that business coming back to you is substantially smaller because in that moment in time, they're going to play the field. They're going to see what other options are. However, if you have a lower line item that they're going to continue transacting on, it's almost like an 80% likelihood chance that they're going to come back to you for the additional services that you once held with them.
Gotcha. Eddie, back with you. Yep.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, sorry, I swapped my other camera. I don't know what's wrong with that camera today, but
You're such a diva. You're coming back with wardrobe changes, different cameras on.
Yeah,
more wardrobe change, just the camera. I mean, this. I know you're singing your praises. We're going. Well, whole plan was to tear it apart, but it didn't work. So
I'm used to it. So no worries at all. So this is a fresh relief for me.
Yeah. Well, I have I have a radio show, and I had a lady who had me get on it, and she was an agency, right? And so then I took over the radio show, and now I have the agency that I was in. And I went to her last week, and I said, "You need to go to Go High Level, get all signed up, do all this stuff because you need this for your software, for what for all the people you deal with. You need this." And she never heard of you. And I'm like, you need to go set this up, and because the people you deal with, this will help them. You already do this, but you have to have all these people to do it. And now you wouldn't need all those people, and that's extra income to you. She's always hurting for advertising agencies. All those agencies are always hurting for money, always hurting for this, just because what you talked about, people are trying to always cut costs. Yeah. And with this, it allows you to do so much more, so much cheap. I don't want to say cheaper, much more inexpensive.
It's cost efficiency along the way. And I think that's the biggest thing with marketing agencies. Churn is the biggest killer, right? And churn, because it's a professional services game, the barrier of what's perceptually conceived as success is so high because many people interpret marketing agencies as a 0 to 1 effort. I am paying you, Brian, $1 to make me $5 back. Don't worry about how, I should not have to do any work because I'm paying that dollar to you. But what people don't realize is a marketing agency or an agency in general, in many cases, is to drive more activity of somehow, some way to ultimately make more dollars. But that doesn't remove you from the process of converting to $1, right?
Right.
And that gap is really why churn exists, because many agencies go out and they're just selling the fact of, Ed, I'm going to work with you and I'm going to help you make more money.
Right. And then
I think all that you heard was make more money, not help make more money, just make more money. Right. And so that gap is really the evil of churn. And that's why the software play also helps with it as well, because there's a lot of infrastructure work that goes into place for you to be able to take on new leads and new opportunities. All that's driven from the marketing agency.
Right. And then we didn't get into this, but the membership sites you guys have now to where you can, so now you don't need another Kajabi or something else to run all this stuff. You now have that where you can people can go through. Are you guys going to be able to actually, if you eventually want to do videos on site and have them on one place?
Yeah, we actually offer video hosting today, so you don't need a Vimeo or.
This is for Brian because he does a lot of this. His whole he's a facial recognition guy, and his whole thing is to get people up to sign up for his courses and do all this. But he's all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, all the video hosting all in one place there. One of the cool things that we're going to be rolling out next quarter is the community aspect. So instead of having like a Facebook group or whatever, you'll be able to have your own community all in one place.
That's what I want.
Yeah, controlled conversations, topics, and really drive them in, private groups and things of that nature. So we'll have all that in one place. And it is really to help the digital economy, the online business owner, really keeping their customers all in one place and building that community as a whole.
Because there's nothing worse than building that community on like Facebook or someplace else, and then that community's gone from you because something happens.
Yeah. Or, the next big thing comes out.
Right.
And so,
TikTok.
TikTok, that's where everyone's at. And now you're losing engagement and opportunities because they're not on Facebook anymore. So, and it's distracting. You get
Mhm.
15 other people trying to offer their services for the exact same thing. And so, kind of keep it in a closed environment, very specialized environment, I think goes a long way. One thing that we did learn along this process is the younger demographics. They're coming from online education as being a staple in high school and in college. And this is where companies like Blackboard exist or whatever. And to complete classes now, you need to log into the platform. You need to go to the forum, and they tell you like you need to create one post and reply to 2 people's posts. And it's forced engagement, but you're building that muscle so that now when you're trying to learn online, it's not going to feel, like, oh, this feels weird. I'm having to log into another platform to be a part of the community. I think it's going to become more normal because it's starting at a young age, and people just don't realize that that's the world that we live in now.
Right.
Oh, give my daughter an iPhone, Android, whatever. She adapts on the fly. To her, it's just a piece of technology versus I think we got so used to, I want a single sign on for something. It's such a pain when it looks different. But kids grow up, they see every different app on Apple TV. To them, it's Apple TV, right?
Yeah,
they don't think
yeah,
about all the
exactly.
different channels and everything else that's there. They see it as I logged into Apple TV. Now I get whatever I want on any of these various applications. So,
Yep, exactly.
one thing I do want to talk about, since we talked a lot about your event, is so the Level Up Summit. It's going to be October 23rd to the 26th here at the Statler Hotel in Dallas, Texas. So people can go to. I'll put up the other website. I guess I should have had that on there though too. I'll put up the website here in a second.
We'll also have in the show notes down below. So
yeah,
and on YouTube everywhere.
So. Yeah, levelup.gohighlevel.com, and you'll see, all the speakers will be announcing them very soon. We'll have all the agendas, and we're planning on having a big surprise as well.
Wow. Awesome. Tony Robbins? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I mean, we'll have really great speakers, but I look at the surprises being more on the fun stuff with the
no, I'm just kidding.
The parties and the events and stuff like that. So we're going to make sure that it's engaging. We got to top ourselves from last year.
Oh, from what I'm hearing from Brian, you got a ways to go. So
yeah, it was last year was pretty awesome. Some very unique things. Like I said, the different panels, the way it was broken out. I believe, Frank Kern left his house for the first time since the pandemic, right, to come to your event. He was very open about it. He's like, this is the first time I've been on a plane, first time I've traveled anywhere. Like he wanted to be there and be a part of it. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, Frank is awesome. I mean, I text with him nearly every day, and he's a great guy. And we had to do a lot of arm twisting to get him out there. But he killed it. He did great, and great guy. I couldn't recommend him highly enough.
All right. So besides the summit coming up, and besides the type of masterminds, what's next for High Level?
I mean, it's a lot of it is doing what we've been doing. It's just continuing to build more products. Really just listen to our community. We talk about we live quarter to quarter, and we're just listening to what our customers need right now, and we're going to try building it next quarter. If we can't fill it off next quarter, we'll build it the next quarter, but we keep it as simple as that. I wish there was like some crazy mission that we have. That being said, we do have one light mission statement that we're trying to figure out the best way to articulate it. It's really becoming a $10 billion ecosystem. If we can help our community make $9 billion, through selling or helping other businesses through SaaS and things like that, we could become $1 billion on the back end. And in that world, $10 billion business is not out of the question. But it's a lot of that enablement. Can we make the product easier? Can we, help people actually monetize by selling on the platform and just doing extremely well? And if we do that, we'll win, and we don't need to have our name out there. It's everyone else's name that matters.
I think the biggest thing is the groups that you're having next, right? Those are besides the membership is the actual groups you're going to have, because Brian and I have talked about this before. We want to create those things, but we don't necessarily want them on Facebook, or we want them somewhere else.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You'll get the ability to do communities. We'll have the ChatGPT functionality. We're building more functionality in our CRM platform, so you can do more company related, like more B2B related sort of things where it's company driven and not individual driven. We're doing a refresh in a lot of the UI, making sure that it stays modern and contemporary with, where trends are going. So we're working on that quite a bit. Performance, everyone wants the fastest website. and where it ranks and things of that nature. So we're working on improvements there. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of stuff that we're rolling out. But what I always recommend people is don't get caught up in all the features that we roll out. There are certain applicable features that it's important for your industry. Get that working, and then you can always add on everything else. But very few businesses need every single aspect of everything that we have, and it's really because we're an operating system. There's certain things that's applicable to you. Use it. Not every business needs to use Excel. Not every business needs to use PowerPoint, but they offer it all in the same thing.
Entrepreneurs,
When was the last time
what?
you guys
Shiny
used
object
Access?
syndrome?
Yeah, exactly. When was the last time you guys used Microsoft Access?
Yeah, never.
Never,
Right.
right? But they ship it with Microsoft Office.
Yeah, that
There's
was
obviously
years and
a
years
group-
ago. Yeah.
They still send it with Access.
Yeah.
You've been with us for an hour. We want to be respectful of your time. So beyond that part of, is there any other big piece of advice that you have for smaller businesses as they're learning to grow, besides sign up with you, obviously?
Yeah,
Now sign
I
up
mean,
with an agency.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, find that implementation partner. I think that goes a long way. You know, it doesn't have to be with high level, just any other product that's out there. You come down to the same thing. The data, I mean, the way that you use any of these platforms is only as good as the data that you put into it. And so if you're not collecting that data, you're going to be slow to get caught up with where the world is going. People want to talk to where they're going to spend money, you know, whether it's through texting or emails or seeing what's going on a website or making sure that there's digital presence. How many times have you looked for a business and their website didn't exist? And you're kind of questioning, like, is this a legit business or is this real? Like, it's not those simple things. And so if you can figure, you know, as you're growing your business, keep it simple, just focus on those core fundamentals. Once you get that, everything else just starts falling into place very quickly.
And when I was looking at, you know, all your program and everything, it's amazing how many people who sell your stuff, right? Because how you pay and everything, they're like, we have all these videos, we have all this stuff to help you set yourself up and all this. Because one of the things I did notice is the ones that you show, you have so many videos on through the website and you go through these 13 or whatever, and that's it. The rest of them I know are on YouTube and other places, but some of these companies have set it up so much easier to find those videos and put them in order for you. That's the only thing I would like to, I don't know if that you're not going to ever do that, but that would have been perfect for me when I first found it to go, okay, here's step, do. Now we're to step 20, 50, whatever. And that's the only thing I wish there was more of, that I didn't have to go find it on a YouTube channel. Not that there's wrong with that, because I'm on YouTube too, but it's just, you have other ones internally. That was my only thing. So
no, that's great feedback. I mean, this is definitely a challenge that we deal with.
I know you can't be everything to everybody. I know.
Well, I mean, and we're trying, right? We're trying to figure out ways to improve it. One thing that we have learned, just as a general construct, is anybody that's in our platform, mostly when you're starting, if we can talk to you, our goal is to help you win. And our conversion rates are super high just from that alone, versus someone who tries to skip out on us. They typically flame out because it's hard to set it up on your own without any assistance along the way. And then beyond that, content, and like, we can create content all day long. We post out videos nonstop, but we have some people that never get on YouTube. We have some people that only respond via email. Some people need to see it in app. Some people need to see it in Facebook. Some people, and so we're trying to figure out stronger strategies to get that content spun everywhere. And we actually just brought on a whole new team under our product marketing team to help facilitate it. So hopefully it'll improve over the next couple of months. But Ed, keep me posted if it's not hitting the right note, and I'll get that to the team, so we'll make sure it's out there.
Well, I'm old, but I've been around technology forever, so I understand stuff that other people don't understand, and I could just see how it could be where people like, how do I get going on this? Who do I need to go to? And it would be maybe nicer to have, and this is not, but someone's like, okay, if you need help, here's these agencies we trust who can help you. You might not want to go directly through us.
Yeah.
You follow what I'm getting at with that?
Yeah. So that is actually something that we just started, this whole new process initiative internally. So we're going to create a whole certification program, and it allows individuals, and now you could be part of an agency or whatever, but even if you're the small business looking to hire somebody, it becomes a credentialing system. So someone who takes the training and they become credentialed enough to feel comfortable that they know the platform. And then, because what we're seeing is a lot of small businesses, they're outgrowing their agency. and they want to do the marketing and be the internal marketing agency for their own business. And so they're going out to job boards and, like Indeed or whatever, saying, we need to hire someone who is very capable in a CRM platform, preferred high level. Now we actually have a way to validate the credentials and things like that, which the way that I look at it from an economy perspective, now you're actually able to, if you're one of these administrators, you'll actually be able to command a larger salary along the way because you are actually building a skill that is needed and actually be verified and authenticated. So that's one of the areas. I hope that next quarter you'll start seeing some news about it, and we'll start opening up as a beta and start rolling it out there.
I'd like to be on that beta.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. I would. I mean, just because when I'm trying to set up, I don't want to do forever, but I want to be able to set up internally in the company for everybody to be able to do it and be able to make it so easy to move forward and not necessarily be reliant on other companies to help us do that.
Yeah. I mean, and the credentialing concept that we're talking about is definitely something that there's a lot of challenges along the way, because there's first learning the basics.
Mm-hmm.
And we want everyone to get certified on that. And then you have the advanced functionalities, but the advanced functionalities goes to the nth degree. So where do we start and stop there? Or where do we even start? I think that's the hard part that we're trying to figure out, but we're going to get there. And you'll start seeing that come out next quarter. So I'll let you know, Ed, when we're out there.
I appreciate it.
Awesome. So one part,
Robin, thank you so much for being here today. Really appreciate you.
Thank you guys.
Whoever came up with the Go High Level, I don't know how you got that, but for the longest time, I didn't even know the company was called High Level because everybody referred to it as Go High Level. And giving that action at the beginning of the company name, whoever came up with that, it's just brilliant. So
I would like to say it was by design of the intentionality behind it. It was we liked the term high level, and then Sean, my co-founder, he was looking for the domain, and of course they wanted like $20,000 for it.
Of course.
And we're just like, at that time everyone's doing like up or or just some sort of thing up front. And so he found Go High Level and bought it, and we just went to task. But we kind of use our name as more of a placeholder. We want other people to put their name on us and put it out in the world in their own way.
Awesome. Thank you again, Robin, for all your time. You stay with us for over an hour and just tons of information. So we appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you at the summit. Who knows?
Yeah,
hopefully.
Thank you guys for having me on it. It's been great.
Our pleasure. Now don't run away when we hang up.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody. Remember, every Tuesday and Thursday, Ed and I'll be here. Tuesdays, usually just us. Thursdays, we have the expert, aka the Joker, much like Robin today, who gives us some specialized information from here. So see y'all next week. Bye.